Hey guys, welcome back. Today's a special episode because I've got my first in-studio guest for the channel here. Today, I'm happy to welcome Dr. Erica. Dr. Erica is a family medicine physician, board certified in family medicine, and it's an important topic that we're going to be covering today because of a little recent newsworthy clip on the Jimmy Fallon show. But first, I want to introduce you to Dr. Erica and let her tell you a little bit about herself. So, welcome.
Hi, thanks. It's fun to be here. I mean, come on, I'm hanging out with one of my friends. Yeah, I'm a family medicine doc. I love women's health, and I'm really passionate about talking about DO advocacy. So let's do it.
And that's the topic of the day, is DO advocacy. So we're both DOs, and for people that have followed my channel, it's not something that I've made a big deal of, but I am a DO. That means Doctor of Osteopathy, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. And I get asked about it sometimes in the clinic, and this is kind of how I explain it to people. If it's a quick conversation, I'll ask them, is your dentist a DDS or a DMD? And most of the time they don't know, and it doesn't really matter. They're just two different credentials that are awarded by different dental schools based on the way they got their certification. But both DDS and DMD can become an orthodontist, an endodontist, a periodontist, a pediatric dentist, or can go on to oral maxillofacial surgery. I mean, there's a whole range of options regardless of whether they went to DDS or DMD credentialed schooling. So it really doesn't matter, and that's kind of what I tell people, is whether you're a DO or an MD, you're still a physician. Your medical school debt is still ridiculous.
That's the truth, unfortunately.
So talk a little bit about, I know because you've done a lot of work as a DO, advocacy, helping people to understand what is a DO. So just kind of give us the elevator speech. What is a DO?
Yeah, awesome question. So the biggest thing is we're very, very similar, right? So we both take the MCAT. So it's the medical college admissions test, right? So that kind of sucks. It's really hard right after college. Mm-hmm. After that, you go to 4 years of med school. Same thing, MD or DO. It's 2 years of classroom, 2 years of clinical months. So 2 years in the hospital, learning side by side by other doctors. After that, you go to residency. And here's the cool thing. You always had to go to osteopathic residency or allopathic residency, MD, mm-hmm. right, if you had that degree. But in 2020, they changed that. So now it's completely interchangeable.
Right.
Before, osteopaths could also go to MD schools, but not the other way around. Now it's integrated.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is we train side by side, and we're very, very similar. And that's what I try to teach people.
Yeah. Where did you go to medical school at?
I went to the founding school, so A.T. Still University in Missouri, tiny, tiny town, founded by A.T. Still. Mm-hmm. He was the founder who said, you know what, I don't want to just be traditional medicine. I want to work at osteopathic principles. So body, mind, spirit, holistic medicine. But he still had that traditional background. So I think it's important to keep in mind, right? Mm-hmm. We do both. It's not one or the other, it's the integration.
Absolutely. So I went to Des Moines University, which was also one of the very first DO medical schools located in Des Moines, Iowa, of course. And it's like Dr. Erica said, that 4 full years of medical school. First 2 years primarily in the classroom, didactic learning, and then 2 years doing clinical rotations through family medicine, OBGYN, internal medicine, general surgery, critical care, ICU, and then electives as well. Electives, for me, of course, I pursued dermatology electives, emergency medicine, orthopedic surgery. I'm sure you did a host of random electives as well.
All of that. And it's cool because you get the same training. You see every different rotation, different specialty, and then you pick the one that suits you. And DOs, remember, they can practice in every single state in this country, and they can practice in every single specialty. So there's about 130,000 of us right now, and we make up a ton of doctors. So what we're trying to convey is there's so many similarities. So at the end of the day, just make sure that you're seeing a doctor, right? That's what we're after.
And the reason that we're talking about all of this today is because of a little clip that happened on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon from a comedian named Hasan Minhaj.
Yeah.
Now, we both recognize that this is comedy, that there's probably no ill intent behind it, but even comedy can lead to misinformation. It can lead to people questioning the credentials or the ability of their doctor. And that's why we're here to kind of try to correct that and set the record straight. But we fully acknowledge that I don't think there's really any ill intent behind it. I mean, obviously, we'll see that Hasan, he had this doctor end up doing his surgery, which you really wouldn't do if you didn't trust the person. But I want to jump into the clip, unless you have any other things to lead into.
No, I love it. I think that's what we're going for.
So let's watch the clip, and then we're going to kind of talk about the things that we see. It's a little bit funny, but it's also something that we need to correct the record on.
Now listen, I'm at that age now where a lot of doctors are my age. okay?
Okay.
And they're Indian, which means I might know them.
What?
So I'm sitting over here at the fertility clinic. Nurse comes out. She's like, Dr. Shah will see you now. I'm like, this better not be Arjun Shah. Okay? Door opens. I hear a familiar voice. He's like, Hasan, Minhaj. I'm like, this is Arjun Shah. This kid is an idiot. I grew up with him. Yes, he failed out of the Caribbean med school twice, Jimmy.
This is so you. This would only happen to you.
Yeah, I go, Arjun, how are you licensed? He's like, I don't know. That's why I'm a jizz doctor on the Upper West Side.
Okay, well, I don't.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there for a second. So they talked about a couple of things in there that, so he grew up with the person, he's known him for a long time, but he says this person failed out of a Caribbean medical school twice. Now, I don't know if that's true. So that's a whole nother pathway that we didn't really discuss, is that in the United States, you can become a physician by going to an MD school or by going to a DO school. But there's also international medical schools, and a lot of these are in the Caribbean, the Marshall Islands. There's different areas of the world, and they really try to cater to people in the United States who either just want to go to those locations, maybe they didn't get into medical school in the United States. The cost of these medical schools is ridiculous. I mean, it's like double the cost of going to this medical school in the United States. And we both went to private school, which was really expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say ours were already super pricey.
There is, if you look at the statistics when we talk about the MCAT, there's certain medical schools that will, on average, I would say, have the highest MCAT scores. And that's going to be places probably like your Ivy League schools, Harvard, Stanford, where they're higher than all the other MD schools. On average, they're higher than the other DO schools. But when you get into DO schools and most MD schools, the MCAT averages are going to be pretty similar. And the year that I went into Des Moines University, our school was really proud because our average MCAT score at Des Moines University was higher than the University of Iowa, which is a really well-respected, medical school.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I teach actually at the medical school here, and same thing, year by year it changes, but by and large, we're very similar to the allopathic schools or the MD schools. So that's something really to keep in mind. Again, they're more similar than they are different, and when you're comparing them, board scores across the board are going to be similar. Same with the MCAT. So don't forget that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's jump back into the video.
Probably a different name for it.
Drop your pants. How's Auntie? I'm like, don't bring my mom into this. This is crazy. He's not even an MD. Jimmy, he's a DO. I'm like,
Here we
this
go.
guy
What is it?
can't even afford all the good letters. Oh, you don't know this.
I paid plenty
There's
for my
a
DO
war
letters.
going on in the medical community, guys, between MDs and DOs.
I don't know, Dio.
No. Okay, so it's like they're basically the same, but they're totally not. Like an MD.
Okay, we got to stop it right there. So I think we've covered this pretty adequately. His statement, this is the real inflammatory statement of the whole thing.
Yeah.
They're basically the same, but they're totally different. So the differences primarily rest in the fact that DOs pursue an extra amount of training in manipulation. Now, it's from a consumer standpoint, it's probably easy to think about this as being like chiropractic, but it's not the same thing. But it is hands-on manipulation of the musculoskeletal system to help to correct imbalances in the body, to improve the joints, muscle flexibility, tender points, lots of different things. And different DOs will use this in their clinical practice and some will not. I don't use any manipulation as a dermatologist. It's something that there are a few conditions that I could use it for, but it's just not something that I incorporate into my practice because it doesn't fit as well as probably yours. And how much manipulation do you use?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't do a lot, but with my prenatal patients or my pregnant patients, I have wonderful benefits from different things that I'll do with techniques. So it really depends on the patient and their needs. And yeah, we want to keep in mind, it's like 200 to 300 extra hours of this training that we do in med school on top of all the bookwork and the rotations. So we do the same thing as allopathic trainees, and then we add another 200 to 300 hours on top of that. And that's an integral part of your practice and what I do day to day based on my patient's need. So if anything, it just kind of helps me a little bit more to take it to that level.
When I was into residency, I went into a strictly DO dermatology residency. So the program director was a DO. Every resident that had ever gone through it were a DO. There were both DO and MD attending physicians that were teaching us through the hospital and through the clinics that we rotated at. And then when the DO side and the MD side announced that they were going to merge postgraduate training, so all residency programs were going to fall under the same umbrella. I was coming into my chief resident year and spearheaded the effort to apply for all the paperwork and everything, and we got our program approved under the MD side, so we were duly accredited, just like your residency program. So I had the option to take both the DO and the MD boards, and I elected only to take the MD boards because, again, in my position, I didn't feel that there was a need to be double board certified, and I was just tired of paying double the money. So
I was just laughing because my program had us take both. It wasn't an option. And I remember studying and thinking I failed every single one of them with my resident colleagues. Half of them were DOs, half of them were MDs. We all suffered together. We all studied together. We had all-nighters together. We all walked out of the test exhausted together. And we all passed. But that's the point, is it's the same kind of test. And it's hard. So you just want to make sure that you're getting that training, but you're doing it in a way that you explain it to patients, right?
Yeah.
Why do these tests matter?
yeah, absolutely.
Like, an MD is Coca-Cola and a DO is RC Cola. You understand? It's like an off-brand doctor.
Cheers. It feels wrong to be drinking that.
It feels good.
It is not good.
Like John Oliver is an MD, I'm a DO. We're the same.
No.
Really not.
He may not be as good as John Oliver.
So, you know, Arjun comes in there and, you know, he's like, listen, man, he's feeling around my merchandise and he goes, oh, you have too much blood down there. It's been lowering your sperm count. So we're going to have to do a very dangerous surgery. It's called varicocele repair surgery. But don't worry, bro, I'll be doing the surgery. I'm like, Arjun, I'm very worried. You're in a lab coat and Jordans. This is not instilling confidence in you. As a patient. He pulls out a trimmer. He goes, let me get up in there. I'll shave you down. We'll do it right here, right now. I go, Arjun.
No, this is...
Yeah, I know we grew up together, but I'm not ready for this. He goes, listen, man, if you don't get this surgery, you can't have kids. And I go, you know what? Just give me the fade. Make the top match the bottom. Shave me down.
Give me the fade.
Yeah, he puts the Darth Vader on me. 6 hours later, I wake up. I'm butt naked in a diaper. 4 huge blood stains on the diaper. I look down. I look up. I see Arjun. I go, Arjun, I only have 2 testicles.
Yeah.
How did you mess up 2 extra times? He's like, don't worry, bro. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Just give it 6 weeks, and you'll be good to go. 6 weeks later, we have hot monogamous action. Me and Bina. She gets pregnant, and there you go.
That's what I'm talking
Congratulations, Hasan.
So thank you.
Your DO doctor got it done.
about. And the DOs. Shout out to the DOs.
Shout out to the DO.
Yeah, totally.
So it's a funny story. Like, I mean, he's a comedian. He puts a good twist to it. In the end, a DO performed a surgery that made him fertile. He had a beautiful child. And even though he's poking a little fun there, there's a little bit of misinformation. Hopefully the true message comes forth in the end that DOs are fully licensed physicians, capable of doing everything within surgery and medicine. And that's the message that I want people to take away.
Absolutely. So thanks. Yeah, we just want to convey the same point across a whole nation. I don't even know what to say other than I'm passionate about this, right? I don't like it when a patient says to me, I don't know if you're a doctor or not. We are physicians. We have the appropriate training, and we can help you just as much as our other colleagues. So thank you.
Definitely. Now, for those who are big into social media, if you're following lots of other doctors, we wanted to share a few doctors that are DOs, and you may or may not be aware of it. And so we're just going to talk about a few that that you may be following here on YouTube, or that you might just be familiar with because they're so big, so recognizable.
Yeah, so Dr. Mike, right? So he's on YouTube. He has over 7 million followers, and he also has a great following on Instagram as well.
So he's one of the foremost providers of health information. He's had interviews with Dr. Fauci. He's been on basically every major national news network advocating for health information, especially in COVID. And he's a DO, and he's proud to be a DO.
Yeah, he's kind of the grandfather of social media in medicine.
Next up, we have Dr. Lee, Dr. Munib Shah. He's here on YouTube as well as all other social media platforms as either Dr. Lee or Derm Doctor. And he is still a resident in dermatology, but he's also a DO, and he's also a proud DO, and will be a board certified dermatologist in just under a year from now.
So Dr. Hala Sabri, she's a good friend of mine. She actually created National Women Physicians Day, and she's also created the Physician Mom Groups on Facebook that has about 75,000 members, and it was one of the top 10 most successful Facebook groups of all time. So successful, they actually hired her to help with consulting. And now she works with things like Dr. Pedia, and she does a lot of her own outreach as well.
So DO physicians are not only just physicians, but in many areas also leaders.
Yeah, and she's an ER doc. So on the side, she's doing this, but she's still in the emergency room all the time dealing with the pandemic right now. So she's kind of a trailblazer across the board. I'm really in awe of her.
Yeah. In addition to being leaders in social media, DO physicians have also been the primary physician to the President of the United States multiple times, from dating all the way back to President Nixon. So I'm going to read a little list here. Here are the physicians that have served as the President's physician: Dr. Kenneth Rowland to President Nixon, and Dr. Stephen Gleason to President Clinton, Sean Conley to President Trump, and Kevin O'Connor to President Biden. So one of the most respected physician positions in the United States has been filled by a DO nearly half a dozen times.
So as of 2021, almost 170,000 osteopathic physicians and osteopathic medical students are in the United States. And what's really cool, almost 1 in 4 current students are DO students.
So the next time you're looking for a primary care doctor, or you end up in the ER, or you're seeing a doctor of any specialty, if they happen to be a DO, if they're board certified in the specialty you're seeing them for, I can attest to the fact that you're going to be in good hands, you're going to be well cared for, and their competence and ability are going to be on par with any physician you could end up with in that situation. So thank you once again for tuning in and following the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave comments or questions down below. And I'm going to leave a little bit bigger list of DO physicians down there so that you can look it up. You can see where else DOs have achieved national prominence in policy, politics, social media, and go out and there's a link there also where you can find a DO to be your physician if that's something that you want. And until I see you again, cheers.